Hello, gorgeous Scorpio family, and welcome to May 2020. A really interesting month, energetically speaking. And I think for Scorpios, this is a time of year where really potent energies get highlighted with the movement of the sun, because we start with what I call mirror season, which is as the sun moves through Taurus. And that's your oppositional sign, right? So you're getting that chance to look at life from that different perspective, right? That balancing out perspective of your perspective. And that can often help bring about really new, great insights into how we move through the world, how we either sabotage or help ourselves, and also how to connect more deeply. But not only that, a ton of energy is starting to activate in Gemini, including the North Node shifting of the moon shifting into Gemini this month on May 5th, and Venus beginning her retrograde in Gemini on May 13th. And Gemini energy with Scorpio, you two have a really deep bond. You are both investigators, and you do it in very different ways, but you are both very active in looking for the mysteries in life, right? And especially if you're a Scorpio rising, the energy getting activated in Gemini as this month progresses has everything to do with that 8th house of death and transformation. So Venus is doing her work in that part of your chart. North Node is doing that work in part of your chart. And then as the sun moves into Gemini and we have a new moon in Gemini, we're getting more and more of this transformational energy at work with you. Now, innately, you rule the 8th house. So Scorpios generally have a good sense of how to work with this anyway. That idea of kind of sleuthing behind the scenes rather than just staying on the surface, the idea of shifting shape, and the idea of doing those things through a much more psychic, emotive authenticity, right? So in many ways, this will be supportive of you. We're going to do a deep dive on Venus retrograde over on my Patreon. We're doing a weekly check-in with it. We're going to be doing exercises. We're going to go deep on the symbolism because I think it's a really important spiritually healing transit. So if you haven't joined me over there, I'd love to see you. The world. Okay. Starting off with a bang, my Scorpios. This is also a really interesting month because you have that full moon in Scorpio as well. Right after the North Node moves into Gemini, we have a full moon in Scorpio on May 7th. I have a fondness for this full moon. I find it to be really illuminating and informative and cleansing. 6 of Cups, all right. And I did have a message for you all that comes in light of the fact that this is a transformational time. And specifically for you with all this energy activating in Gemini, this is a huge time for shifting how you perceive your value, your lovability, your connectivity, who you are in the world. This is a really beautiful time to reconnect with yourself. Hierophant. Yes. It is esoteric and mystic in nature, the energy, the way it works with you, Scorpio. And I would say in general, there is a focus on that. Even as the sun transits signs like Taurus and Gemini that I think are often associated with kind of being joyful and flirtatious and easygoing and King of Swords. Ooh, truth bringer is all over the place here, my friends. This is a deep time of skin shedding and shift, especially for Scorps. So the message that came through, even before I really looked at how the energy was moving through the sky, is that each wave of depth and feeling comes with an equal wave of illumination. And one of the interesting things about May in general is that the moon wanted to come out. That wave form, very even, but quite consistent, like chunks of emotion are coming in, and we're working with that waveform. And something important to just keep in mind as we're recalibrating and shifting gears. So for you, you may have like a physical tendency to, have fatigue or have inflammation or have headaches or, any of those things that may come up. There may be waves of that, or just other deeper emotions, however that manifests for you, right? That you may find that this is a time where you'll have a wave of that, and then you'll have a wave of really deep insight. Two of Cups wanted to pop out. Love that. So this month is benefic in many ways. Oh, the other thing to keep in mind with all this energy moving around, King of Cups, all right, is that outer planets are beginning their retrogrades as well. Pluto already started its retrograde on April 25th in Capricorn. So that one's already retrograde. Saturn and Jupiter are also going to go retrograde this month, and these begin a series of retrogrades that go until September, October. So we're starting to also do the mystic work of the inside out, of the unseen made into the seen, rather than the reverse. And Queen of Wands. Okay, you guys have a lot of characters in your energy map this week or this month. It's powerful. I will say that, but there's actually kind of a sense of equilibrium here, which I think is really interesting. This isn't about big drama necessarily. It's about integration. It's about really good conversation. And it's about getting clear, helping yourself define, where you stand on things that really matter to you, and clear the path from anything that really isn't working for you, and to dive deeper into the things that are. So the world is a big one. You started reading off with the world. You're starting your journey here with a in-between. It's in between, even though the world, you think of that as being in the world of the world. To me, the world is very much about being between domains, between worlds. It's that point where we've come full circle with something, right? We've come to a completion point, and we are kind of opening to the next phase of life, the next portal, but we're not quite there yet. So we have entered into the in-between. Now, rather than this being spooky or kind of, what we think of as the land of haunted, spooky spirits, which that would be fun too. Don't get me wrong, but this is the in-between that's filled with a lot of light, a lot of clarity, a lot of crystalline understanding. And so the thing here with this month is you may feel a little bit suspended between timelines, suspended between lifetimes, suspended between identities with yourself, right? And that can be very illuminating. No wonder I got that note that you may feel like big emotions come up and then a wave of clarity comes in. This is what the work of the world does. I think sometimes we get simplified when we look at that world energy, but when you think about concluding a cycle and opening it up, that goes to some really profound places. Now, some of the things that I'm seeing here is that there is emotional work afoot here. And honestly, when you have a lot of energy moving over in your opposite sign of Taurus, Uranus and the Sun are both doing work together over there right now. You are going to be feeling some of that energy that has to do with relationships and how you relate. Now, what's interesting with this is we have the Six of Cups, which is a very nostalgic card. It takes us to the past. It takes us to past versions of how we've loved. It takes us to past loves. It takes us almost through the timeline of our love languages and our tendencies, and either finds those places that are really beautiful and helpful, or it can help us also understand and navigate places where we gave of ourselves or we put ourselves in patterns that weren't helpful to us. So this can take us on kind of a trippy journey. This is a very meditative, very collapsing of time, deja vu energy. And so this can be a helpful modality though, right? Because if we are able to step up and out of our experience and look over it with that calm equilibrium of understanding what it is, we can come to new understandings about it. And that's the thing, you have these initiators here of the Hierophant and the King of Swords. Now, Hierophant is often associated with traditional relationship, commitment, showing up, investing, right? Hierophant is very associated with the establishment in many ways. And I would say the King of Swords is as well. These are energies that want things to be done and approached in a clear-cut, deliberate manner, rather than waffling around or playing games. This is about really homing in on what matters, and saying yes to something and nailing it out. Now, I think this is important. There is something big here to say yes to in life, Scorps. There is something big to kind of put your foot fully on board with, and that could be a relationship. It can also be how you treat yourself, or a project, or how you're going to shift, or how you're, it can be any number of things, but these kind of cut through the cloud that maybe sometimes we have around ourselves. And that's what I'm saying. It's like we go into this in-between world, the world and the Six of Cups, where it's a little foggier and it's a little less easy to see the truth. And we come out with a knowing, with an insight, with an understanding of what it is that is coming next. And to stabilize. These are stabilizing energies as well. So whether you're working with a Taurus or a Libran or an Aquarius or just somebody who has this energy, there is a clear consistency going on here, which I really like to see for you all. And quite honestly, the energies that I'm seeing around you are about that. It's about having people around you and having situations around you that it's not a guessing game. It's not this, I don't know, maybe. It's a lot of showing all the way up. And that goes for the people that are around you. It also goes for you. But in order for you to be able to do that, it does feel like, I get this moon energy, which we can get lost in, right? This is where we can get really addicted to the processing and to the floating and to the dreaming and to the thinking through our thoughts and not really acting on them, right? We can get very addicted to our process inside. And that's the shadow side of it. Now, the positive side of this is that there's something to tap into here. Once again, the cards that are showing me that there's some emotional process that's purely your own is the World, the Six of Cups, and the Moon. These three are all about our internal process, right? An emotional truth coming through and us being able to sieve through that emotional process to understand how we are to move forward. Rather than trying to look for the answers externally on other people, it's like you're not going to get your answers from other people. It's going to have to come from this process. However, the clarity that I'm seeing here is that whoever is coming into your life needs to be there with clear intention. And the next three cards speak to that because we have the Two of Cups, the King of Cups, and the Queen of Wands. Wow. So obviously, Two of Cups, very loving, bonded relationship. This is an exchange of energy that has everything to do with mutual respect, ease, peace, communication, emotional shared. These are sharing. These are equals, right? These are not, there's no such thing as this whole runner and chaser type mentality here. And this is the true divine nature of love, connectedness, and not just romantic love, but love in family, love in friendships, when we're not needing to make somebody different than they are, and we're not needing to force things, right? This is a really important energy, and the King of Cups and the Queen of Wands speak to that as well. Now, maybe some of you Scorpios over here have a fire sign in your life. It's so interesting how fire and water signs do often work together and get very close. Despite their very big differences in the way they approach problems, there's so much we can learn from each other. Being a Leo sun and having a lot of fire in my chart, I always learn from the water signs. And there is an exchange of energy going on here. Now, both of these energies speak to something that has to do with timing as well. And that is a theme that I'm noticing as I'm working through this reading with you all today, that there is a timing element to this whole process of May, where King of Cups and Queen of Wands like to watch, perceive, and then take decisive action when it's the right time, and do it from a place of authenticity and truth, and not to take sudden actions. So this month you may be noticing you're watching a lot. You're watching yourself as you go through these emotive cycles. You're watching other people around you and how they're showing up and how it feels when you're in conversation or when you're exchanging information. Does it feel good? Does it feel supportive, or does it feel a little sticky? You're going to be noticing where you're releasing old emotional patterns. Now, this is a big one, and actually this is what's coming up for me. we keep getting these really stable commitment cards, right? Hierophant and Two of Cups are for sure, they have a lot to do with committing and showing all the way up. And they are there to show you where you want to maybe step in a little deeper. And they also help you clarify why that matters. And there are people around you that are going to help you do that. Now, like I said, Venus retrograde does tend to bring up some deeper themes when it comes to relationship. Absolutely. It's interesting where it's hitting in your chart because it's going to be all about, I mean, depending on what your rising sign is, obviously, the transformation of the behind the scenes, right? Venus helping you do healing work within your internal process, within your soul work, within where you want to shift and change, where there is no longer a need to stay in the same modality. So there is deep work going on here with how you relate, any codependent cycles that you may have been going through. And what's really interesting is when we meet up with Venus retrograde now, it's really interesting to compare her, this retrograde, with the last one we had, which was happening in Scorpio and Libra back in, let's see, the fall of 2018. What were themes coming up there at that time? Because now we're back with another Venus retrograde in a very different energy. And often we close out whatever loop we were working on the last time it was retrograde. So that's something interesting to do. And there is something about relationships here and commitment and healthy exchange of energies that's a really strong and important part of this journey for you. Now, I wrote down some keywords for the month of May, and I'm going to pull one randomly and see what we have. Kindness. Ooh, this is a fun one. Kindness. You know, it's underrated sometimes, I think, kindness. But it is true kindness from within and with those around us is the best thing in the world. You know, kindness is an interesting word etymologically. It's very much based in the Germanic root word system that has to do with being familiar, treating somebody with familiarity. I mean, in German, in modern German, Kind is a child. And that familial warmth, right? That the root word has to do with being familiar. And I think when we think about kindness, it's like the warmth of just knowing you can relax, you can put down your guard, you can show all the way up. You don't have to obscure yourself or pretend you're okay or hide in the shadows or zip yourself up tight, afraid that in being seen you're going to be burned to the ground or have retribution for how you feel. And when I think about kindness, I think that's the truest expression of kindness. And I think this message wanted to come through for you today because there's a strong theme here of kind, loving partnership, close family, creative relationships of any kind. And this can show up in so many different ways that is an important theme for you to be keeping your eye on this month. Above all else, whatever else may be going on, keep your eye out for these processes that have the Two of Cups quality to them. Keep your eye focused on that. Whatever other elements are going on, because there could be a lot of other stuff going on in your month, there's something calling you to focus in and home in on something very specific here that has to do with emotional integrity and truth and healing. And it is going to be tapping at your window in many different forms, I think. Like I said, if you're looking for more support during May, we are going to be doing so much beautiful work over on Patreon. It's a great little community of people. We have really wonderful discussions over there. So if you'd like some extra support during Venus retrograde, which is such a wild ride, I'm going to be sharing some personal stories over there about the past couple Venus retrogrades and how those have changed me. And also we're going to get into the symbolism of it all, the energetics of it all, and help ourselves ground as we work through the healing and deep power of Venus as she does this work. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave my Patreon link below. It's an all-inclusive one-tier deal. It's a really great deal. I'm also going to be offering summer readings. So keep an eye on my calendar. I haven't quite opened up June yet, but I will very soon. So I'll leave the link for my one-on-one bookings below, as well as you can find me on on Instagram at Sarah Verba. I would love to see you there as well. And of course, PinkLune. Beautiful PinkLune, always wearing her beautiful jewelry. Go check out her Etsy shop. And I'm sending you so much love, my Scorpio people. I will see you in June for more Venus retrograde and more powerful transformational portal energy.